Awesome. Thanks, Ian. Really appreciate it. Hey, everyone. So thanks for joining me in this session today. I'm Jeremy Crawley. I'm a product designer by trade and a goofy creative at heart. I started my product career working for Stars Premium Cable, helping them release the first over-the-top cable subscription using a mobile application. I've also worked with enterprise level companies like Adobe, Peloton, Elevance Health, Optum, Gartner, Salesforce, and I've helped them create user-friendly content and activate brands through storytelling. Most recently, I've helped create a new kind of CMS that integrates with intelligent asset management to help brands not only distribute loads of content, but educate users on how to use it and why it's important to their daily workflows. So we've entered a new era where managing more content than ever, and it's always on. Your brand lives in thousands of assets across more channels, regions, and teams. So every file, every post, every touch point contributes to this perception. So in this session, we're going to explore how AI is helping organizations not just store and organize that content, but actually activate it. We'll look at how AI is reshaping the way we manage, discover, and govern assets, and how it enhances brand integrity, improves efficiency, and helps teams keep pace with today's content demands. So before we dive deeper, I'd love to hear from you a little bit. So let's take a quick pulse of the session. You should see a poll come up pretty soon. But when it comes to managing brand content and digital assets, where do you feel the biggest bottleneck is today in your organization? So you can vote on these things. Maybe it's finding the right asset when you need it. It could be managing asset approvals and version control. Raise your hand if it's ensuring usage rights and compliance and they're actually being enforced and accurate. I know this last one for me is huge. As a designer, making sure the content is actually being reused across teams and channels instead of recreated from scratch. I know it's easy as a designer to say really quickly, I can't find something, and so I'm going to recreate it because I have the tools to do that. But, that can end up watering down the trust of the brand. So it looks like coming through in the poll, most of you are saying that finding the right asset is the biggest problem, right? That organization and trying to find. And then the second one would be that content reuse across teams. So both challenges for sure. So thanks for participating in that. These are common friction points across all teams. We hear them across organizations of all sizes. And the good news is these are exactly the areas where AI and smart content infrastructure can have a huge impact. So let's dig into that a little bit. So what is the cost of chaos? 70% of existing assets go unused because they can't be found or trusted. And then we also have 1.5 days per week is spent by marketing teams looking for assets. Marketers are now juggling an average of 12 distribution channels. That's more than double from just a few years ago. We have a content volume surge. So 63% of businesses increased content budgets in 2024 to meet rising demand across platforms. We're being asked to do more with less. I'm sure that you guys are familiar with this, but teams are now forced to increase output without actually increasing the budget. And this can definitely lead to burnout. We also have budget and resource constraints. 62% of demand gen marketers cite budget limits as a key challenge, and 58% lack internal resources. Honestly, we have brand consistency at risk. There's poor brand guideline adoption, and this is really hurtful as a designer because when we put so much effort into these brand guidelines, we only see that about 30% of organizations are using brand guidelines, and 15% of those organizations don't have any brand guidelines at all. We see inconsistent branding can reduce revenue by 23%, and trust and recognition of the brand suffer after that. So let's take a step back for a moment and look at just how much things have changed. 10 years ago, a campaign might include a few key visuals, a landing page, some ads, and today that same campaign could easily produce hundreds of asset variations. You have the social snippets, influencer kits, regional versions, TikTok edits, accessibility formats, and more. Content is not just increasing, it's actually accelerating, it's diversifying, and it's becoming hyper contextual. Each version is tailored to a different channel, audience, or market. And at this scale, managing content becomes more than a creative challenge. It becomes brand management challenge because every asset that you publish is shaping that perception. The truth is that manual management simply can't keep up anymore. This isn't a human failure, it's a structural one. The systems that we used to rely on, things like folders or static libraries, manual tagging, they just don't really scale to meet today's demands. So that's where AI comes in, not only to replace creatives, or we're not trying to replace creatives and brand teams, but we want to support them. We want to fill the gap between what we need to manage and what's humanly possible. What we're talking about today is more than a better way to search or sort. It's a shift towards dynamic, intelligent infrastructure that can adapt with your content. So we're moving from this idea of a static library to a dynamic ecosystem, and AI is going to be how we get there. So, what is this new content reality? What does that look like? As marketing and creative teams scale, the sheer volume of content and complexity of managing it can feel very overwhelming. That's where AI comes in, not to replace us, but to remove the repetitive, time consuming tasks that drain our focus and delay output. So, for example, AI can auto tag assets with consistent, rich metadata in seconds. This means no more manual entry or inconsistent naming across teams. Everything is standardized from the moment an asset is now uploaded. It also helps you identify duplicate files and even surfaces top performing content so you're not guessing what works. With AI, you're actually leveraging what already does. AI can classify content by format, campaign, or region automatically, especially useful when managing global initiatives or with multiple deliverables. It can mirror usage rights and flag expired or restricted assets, something that's critical for staying compliant and avoiding brand risk. When it comes to audio and video, AI steps in to translate and transcribe content, making global distribution faster and easier, and definitely more inclusive. And finally, AI enables personalized content delivery at scale. So it can tap into audience data and deliver the right message to the right person at the right time, something that would be nearly impossible without automation. So instead of getting bogged down in file tagging, sorting, or compliance checks, your team can actually focus on what truly drives impact, things like creative strategy, brand storytelling, and innovation. So we're going to take a deep dive into each of these AI-powered tasks. So what does this shift actually look like in practice? Traditionally, a dam was like a library, like a central source of truth where you could store, organize, and retrieve assets. And that's still foundational, but it's not enough anymore. Today, a dam is becoming something more. It's a living, intelligent ecosystem, not just a place to store content, but a system that actively supports how content is managed, governed, and used. It is now a system of action. So modern teams don't need to just find assets, they need help with what they don't know. They need tools that suggest the best performing content, automate approvals, flag compliance risks, and surface the right version at the right time. When you start to unify brand governance with intelligence, something powerful happens. You move faster without sacrificing control. So let's talk about one of the biggest choke points in content operations, which is metadata. We all know how critical tagging is, and it's what makes assets discoverable. But we also know how time consuming and inconsistent manual tagging can be. If anyone's ever familiar with filling out a large metadata spreadsheet with detailed columns in the CSV, that can be really time consuming and it breeds inconsistency if it's not done perfectly. So the reality is manual tagging just doesn't scale in today's environment. But with the help of AI, it does. With AI, assets are enriched with metadata the moment they're uploaded. Visual recognition, object detection, campaign context, it's all analyzed and tagged in seconds. That means way better search, faster reuse, fewer hurdles for your creative and marketing teams. And here's why it ties back to brand. For brand managers, metadata is not only how you enforce the rules, but how you build trust of those use in others. So, what's been approved? What's regional? What's seasonal? What's embargoed? Even when content is user generated or comes from an external partner, AI helps ensure that it's accurately and richly described, which is critical for compliance and consistency. We all know how hard creative teams work to get campaigns right, but sometimes it only takes one wrong asset to put that brand at risk. Whether it's an image used outside of its license window or content that's published in a market that it wasn't cleared for, brand credibility can be undermined in seconds. And we want to maintain that high level of trust with our audiences. This is where AI becomes your always on compliance partner. AI powered content systems can now flag potential issues before anything goes live, whether it's an expired usage right, missing model release, or territory restriction. For global teams juggling content across regions and platforms, this kind of automation is critical. It keeps you compliant, it keeps you consistent, and keeps you out of legal gray zones. Think of AI here as your brand's safety net. It's quietly working in the background, scanning assets, checking for usage rules, and ensuring everything meets standards and regulations. It doesn't just protect the brand, it frees up your teams to move faster with confidence. So, one of the most common questions that we hear is, do I need to wait for a rebrand, a new system, or a massive overhaul to bring AI into content operations? So the short answer of that is no. AI capabilities can often be layered into systems, such as your DAM, depending on the platform that you're using. So that being said, not every platform supports these AI features natively. So the first step is you need to assess, can your current setup automatically detect expiring licenses or region-specific restrictions? Does it support auto tagging or smart search? Is it helping to reduce risk or is it just holding on to files? Does it have face recognition capabilities? If not, it's not a blocker, it's an insight. It tells you where you might need to evolve. So most teams don't make a massive shift overnight. They start very small and they try to solve one real world problem that's slowing them down. So some of those real world problems could be improving campaign asset reuse, um, automating approvals, tracking licenses and expiries and regional restrictions, or just simply making it easier for teams and other marketers to find the right version of a file. These are all areas where the ROI is clear and where AI can deliver immediate value. Remember, it's not about perfecting everything at once, it's about building momentum, one smart use case at a time. At this point, you might be thinking, so AI can do all of this. Does that mean that we just turn it on and let it run? Not quite. So you got to think about AI as like a co-pilot. It can guide and accelerate and automate, but it still needs that human touch in the lead seat to chart the course. In content and brand ecosystem, structure matters, and AI performs best when it has clear parameters to work within. So that means giving it what it needs to make smart decisions on your behalf. So the more detailed this information is, the smarter your AI copilot is going to be. And those are things like solid metadata foundations, consistent naming conventions, your taxonomy, well documented brand rules, and training assets that reflect your visual identity and voice. Is this thing on brand? Does it tell the story? The more clarity that you give these things up front, the more confidently it can support your workflows. So whether it's tagging or recommending assets or just enforcing compliance. This is where AI becomes your true partner in a content ecosystem. It's not just automating tasks, but it's actually helping your brain scale with consistency and intent. So let's look at a few key takeaways here. Um, First, AI enhances digital asset management by adding intelligence where it matters most. Tagging, search, governance, and rights management. It's not about replacing your current systems. It's about making them smarter and more responsive to the pace of modern content demands. So, second, it's better content management leads to faster execution, reduced risk, and stronger brand consistency. When your teams can find and trust and activate the right assets, everything downstream from that workflow gets more efficient. And third, you don't need to do everything at once. The most effective approach is to start with one single use case. So talk to your teams, figure out what you're having issues with. Maybe it's AI generated metadata. Maybe it's automating rights checks. Maybe it's just improving how your teams search the platform. Pick these areas of friction and start building momentum in just one of them to start. Because the future of brand and content operations, it's not manual. It's going to be dynamic and it's connected and it's intelligent. So let's start making that shift one smart decision at a time. So, how do we implement something like this? Implementing AI doesn't mean flipping a switch. It's a journey that starts with understanding where your content team is struggling and where automation can make the biggest impact. So you might want to do something like start by auditing your content lifecycle, identify where time is being wasted. Things like manual reviews, rework, duplicate content, or compliance checks. Then prioritize AI use cases. So focus on high volume, high friction tasks first. So metadata tagging is really common here. It's you're spending a lot of time doing it, and it happens quite frequently. Duplicate detection. So do you have a good damn hygiene, or are there a ton of duplicates in your system? That stuff takes time to go in and pull out of there manually. You can also prioritize an AI use case like smart approvals, having those workflows automated. Next, you want to align with business goals. So talk to your team, tie AI to outcomes like faster go to market, increased campaign ROI, improved accuracy, or fewer compliance risks. Look at that overall business goal for the year and see where the friction is happening and where AI can come in and help. So then you need to train, right? Pilot and train. Start small, measure the results, educate your team on how to work alongside AI outputs. And then you want to expand and optimize. Um, Layer in personalization, predictive analytics, and omni-channel publishing support as confidence and ROI grow. So start small, prioritize those needs, align with the business, train, and then scale up. We want smarter content delivered faster. Ultimately, AI is challenging how we make the entire content lifecycle, from planning and creation to approval and publishing. Rather than layering in more complexity onto your CMS, AI can simplify the process by doing the heavy lifting in the background. So, to summarize the key areas where AI does add value, we have automated content classification. So AI can detect themes, tones, formats. It can assign metadata automatically, no more manual tagging needed. It can surface top performing content, user engagement, SEO, or conversion data to elevate what works and archive what doesn't. That's a big part of it, right? That damn hygiene, archiving the things that don't work anymore. We have AI powered recommendations. So let AI suggest which blog posts to update, which guides to retire, and what formats to repurpose. Things like blogs, infographics, video snippets. We have predictive workflows. So anticipate bottlenecks based on past project timelines and nudge stakeholders when action is needed. Also, narrative search capabilities. So go beyond keywords. Let users actually find what they're looking for by asking natural questions, like find me last quarter's top performing email CTA. So before we wrap up, I just want to leave you with a quick thought about everything that we've talked about today. Intelligent file management, AI assisted discovery, and brand governance. It all comes to life inside Media Valet. If anything you've seen today sparked curiosity, or you want to see how AI can actually make your content more actionable, I'd love to show you what we're building. You can reach out for a personalized demo of Media Valet at any time. And one thing that I'm really excited about, especially coming up with this damn week, and Parker's going to talk about it later today, is our experience portals. So they take the power of a world-class CMS and they bring it right into the dam. And that lets you create fully branded, curated experiences for your teams, your partners, or your clients. It's more about just showcasing your assets. These portals actually guide users on how to use assets. They can tell a brand story and they can inspire new content creation. So it's what happens when your dam evolves from a system of record into like a true system of engagement. So if you're thinking about how to take your digital asset management to that next level with personalization, automation, and brand storytelling built in, definitely reach out to us. I'd love to show you what's possible. Ian, if you want to go over to the questions, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we have a couple,
Let's
Jeremy. I'm just popping them in.
What's the biggest challenge organizations face when first adopting AI-driven tools for content management? I think the biggest challenge I've seen is that adoption among employees. You know, Sometimes people feel overwhelmed with all the new tools and agents that are out there, and I think that you really want to find those champions of your organization and start with a small group and get a small amount of people excited about it, and then help them, like, let them help spread the word to the rest of the company and really kind of find more champions and slowly increase that sphere of influence. What else do we got here? So once AI automation is in place, what metrics or early signals should teams be looking for to confirm it's actually improving efficiency and brand consistency, not just adding another layer of tech? This one probably comes down to how you define those goals when you're aligning with the business objectives. Let's say you want to try to cut back on the amount of time that you're manually tagging assets. And if you define, the return on investment there is that you want to take away that day and a half per week that marketers are using to tag those assets, then look at what that time actually is after you've implemented a tool like this, and did it actually save you time? I think that you'd be surprised that it does, and it does very quickly. So, as AI becomes more integrated into content management, how do you see the role of brand and marketing teams evolving? I really think that this comes down to getting out of the minutia of the day to day, your daily workflows, your daily tasks, those things that can be automated. And it lets you step back and take a higher level approach to things like creative direction, brand storytelling, like those higher level objectives that really drive impact across the company. You're not spending time doing these minute tasks that can be automated. So. Looks like that's all we got in the chat. Is there anything else anybody wanted to ask? All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody's time and thanks for coming and listening.